Head coach Fred Hoiberg also including fines for those three players who won't start tonight. Today, for the most part, everybody said, we're cool. It's okay. Everyone aired out what they wanted to say, and we can all work together moving forward. I guess for you guys, which criticism, Wade and Butler's or Rondo's, will carry more weight in the locker room?
Wow. I think both sets of criticisms can go a long way. Look, Dwayne Wade is a Hall of Famer. Jimmy Butler is an all-star, an Olympian. They have respect in the locker room. And whenever these guys speak, I know these young players are impressionable, they're up and coming, they look up to them, they're going to listen what they have to say. Now the problem, I believe, is sort of airing your dirty laundry. You have these discussions internally, you have team meetings, player-only meetings, very common, where you can be honest, you can lash out, you can get everybody's perspective, and hopefully sometimes that can be a healthy and productive experience, and you can move forward. Now, going publicly, whether it's Jimmy Butler and Wade, or going public with social media, as you said, with Rondo, it's a lot of back and forth, which just causes a lot of uncertainty. But I heard they did have a team meeting today, and maybe that contributed to everybody's sort of this kumbaya moment now. Everything is good, everything's healthy, but we'll see. We'll see as they go out tonight and also the rest of the season. Not are they going to win a lot of games. I think they are who they are. I think more importantly, they're just going to stay together as they go through the second half of the season.
Butler and Wade's comments came immediately after the Bulls had given up a 19-4 run to close out a game in which they lost to the Atlanta Hawks. You could argue it's heat of the moment, but these are veteran guys. They've been around long enough to know how the media works. There have been plenty of coaches, plenty of executives who've gotten their messages out through the media, sometimes not as obvious as theirs, but can it be effective? Is there a place for that? You hear people say all the time, got to keep it in the locker room, but sometimes it seems to me you can get your message out that way.
Yeah, in my experience, when you have a radioactive environment, sometimes it's good to crack a window and let some of it out. I think the way that Dwayne Wade and Jimmy Butler addressed it in the heat of the moment after a game is really organic. Rondo's reaction was much more calculated and much more pointed, if you ask me. I think his was a statement not only about the reaction to what these other two guys said, but maybe about something that's been going on in that locker room all season long. The Bulls are admittedly, in a transition from one era to the next. They're trying to figure out what kind of team they're going to be. And Rajon Rondo and Dwayne Wade are not long-term pieces for the Bulls, just by virtue of their contracts. So you have to wonder how much of what Rondo is saying is defending the work ethic of these young guys that he's working with every day, and how much of it is just reactionary from Jimmy Butler and Dwayne Wade. Now, that would worry me if I'm Bulls brass, and that's why I'm glad to see Gar Forman come down and at least address it. I would have preferred he take a question.
Yeah, he didn't take any questions today.
But hey, it's going around, Matt. What do you
Yes.
Press conferences without the press actually participating. It's what's going on.
It's a national trend in sports and other places. Let's bring in Steve Aschburner, who comes to us live from the eye of the storm in Chicago. And Steve, the principals here suggested everything is cool today. They can all move forward together. How much will all those words matter in the days and weeks ahead?
Yeah, words, so many words. I think this is all going to come down to actions, what we see on the floor, how we see these guys play together. When they hit some more adversity like they had Wednesday night that triggered all this, will they bond together? Will they be able to get through it, even if they do blow a lead and lose badly the way that game went? Not to come apart at the seams and point fingers afterwards. That'll be the test. I mean, they could say whatever they want from now until whenever, but we need to see some changes.
Yeah, we'll see what plays out over the next week or two. Fred Hoiberg said today he fined all three players and decided to not start Dwayne Wade and Jimmy Butler, but all the sniping does beg the question of how firm his control of that locker room is. What is his command of this team as you see it and as it's perceived in Chicago?
Well, I think it's precarious, and that was sort of thrown into the spotlight again after shoot-around this morning, because Dwayne Wade was asked that question, and rather than give, even if it was just a obligatory, oh no, we're all behind Fred. Fred's doing a fine job, whether you believed it or not. What Dwayne Wade said was, well, you better go ask Fred.
Yeah.
Well, that doesn't help things either. So, no, I think that Fred's situation is still very much the subject of speculation. Let's put it there. It was about a month ago that he was said to be on a hot seat, and that's when he first removed Rondo from the starting lineup. By the way, there are people here that consider this to be a victory for Rondo because his role for tonight's game doesn't change. He'll come off the bench as usual, while Dwayne Wade and Jimmy Butler, they're out of the starting lineup. So that looks like somehow Rondo didn't pay quite the same price, even though all three got fined.
And Rondo hasn't had many victories in terms of his behavior and his interactions with the Bulls as a franchise since he arrived. And on that front, what are the chances that Rondo, whether it's via buyout or trade or some other mechanism, is still with this team a month from now post-trade deadline?
A lot of people are surprised he's been here this long. They thought that if you aren't starting and using Rajon Rondo the way he thinks that he should be able to play, he's not a great guy to have around. The fact is, he did, in his mind, stand up for the younger players on this roster. Now, whether he did that because it was an opportunity to needle Dwayne Wade in particular, you know, those two guys have been pretty fierce rivals through the years. And Rondo got here before Wade had made his decision to come to Chicago. Or whether it was sincere in backing young guys. I mean, that was a pretty broad swipe that Wade took and that Butler piled on regarding, you know, unnamed players, role players. And the Bulls have problems with the roster. I don't think that that's sort of leadership that these guys need. So maybe they stick with Rondo long term if he shows that he can be an advocate for young guys and not cause more trouble for the coaching staff.
It's been a fascinating team all season long. Not a great team, but a really interesting team, if nothing else. Steve Aschburner from NBA.com with us from Chicago once again, and not pointing the finger at anybody, I might add. We'll talk.